Oh my God. Burning myself. I have to go to work. And I don't want to go to work, so I'm inflicting pain intentionally. All right. Back to the bathroom for episode 2 of The Girls Room, Date IRL. Questions and answers of myself while I get ready in the girls' room. Today is Wednesday, so I decided this is going to be the day I do not work out. My chest. Oh my God. It was bad anyway, so this was God telling me to start over. So I decided to use hump day as a way to give my body a little bit of a break from running, because I tend to get really excited. Oh, okay, the AC's off now, great. I tend to get really excited in the gym and in the streets when I'm running, and I forget I have 32-year-old me, so I really need to be mindful of stretching and making sure that I don't injure myself. So hump day, break, great. As I set this up, I will also set the table for the conversation of today. The question is, describe dating in LA in one word. When I asked people on IG describe it, it was crazy. Like people are mad. People do not like dating in LA, and it's everybody's fault. So, let's just try to address it and move on. I think that dating in LA, if I were to describe dating in LA in one word, it would be childish. It is so childish. It's like the boy in elementary that kind of likes you, so pushes you down a flight of stairs. And it's like, okay, like, I guess I'll be your girlfriend. That's kind of how it's like, but just a grown-up version. So you completely ignore the person. And I am childish as well. So it's not an attack on men at all. It's like, we're all childish. I think it's good to be self-aware. So we will get into that. Before that, I have a gym day recap. So let's get energized with my coffee. Also, I love this mug because it says my name, which is also just a happy word. But yes, gym day. So gym day, I think, is just now gym buddy that I run into often, or just neighbor. He's just becoming a neighbor. I think I'm realizing that I don't actually like this man, and I don't think I really ever did, but fantasy is kind of nice. Having some eye candy is kind of nice. And it's kind of one of those things where you ask yourself after a while of like, oh, am I stalking this person, or am I just like completely being irrational? Do you even like him, or is he just tatted? Do you like him, or is he just there? Do you like him, or is he just a man? So I had to ask myself these questions, and I'm realizing that I think it's the mystery of the man that I like. Like, he does not speak really at all. He's very demure. He's just very kind of quiet, I guess, but in like a mean, unapproachable way, which I obviously don't know if he's mean or not, but he doesn't give friendly, which is mysterious. So I kind of like that. But the more I see him around, I'm like, oh, okay, the mystery is kind of dying. And now that I saw him yesterday at the gym, we have a nod of recognition. So what that means is when I see him, like after I'm, all sweaty and I'm zoned in because I'm focused, even though I can always kind of see him in the back of my or the side of my eyes, I will intentionally acknowledge him. I look up, I look at him, he's looking at me, and I'm like, looking good. So he just gave me, the bro gym nod, and I was like, oh, good morning. How are you? But that's good for now, because I actually don't know what I will do or say if anything else happens. I think the gym nod is the best way to do it. Let's just acknowledge each other's presence, first things first, and go from there. Like, I do regularly run into this man now, so I have opened every conversation up, which is kind of odd in a way. Like, I'm trying things out, seeing how I just approaching first, I guess. Also, it's super low lift, and I don't feel like it's that important, because at the end of the day, I should be nice to my neighbors anyways. So I'm not gonna go above and beyond. I'm not gonna be crazy flirtatious at all. Like, hey, I acknowledge you, hi, hello. So now, if you want to continue conversation, you have the go ahead. Like, I'm not a crazy, well, you don't know I'm not a crazy person, but I'm at least approachable and friendly to a degree, So next time, perhaps you ask me for my name, even though I don't feel like he's going to do that. I'll ask him, because at this point, I just don't care. And I'm taking bait out of it, because now once I find an ick, which is not really an ick, he's not giving me the ick, but once I find something that makes him no longer mysterious and dreamy and like, oh, crush, babe, whatever, then I'm just going to talk to you like like anybody else. Also, I am not the best straightener of hair, because I like to rush through things, but because I'm talking to myself in a mirror, and whoever joins me on this audio diary, I think I might actually take my time with it, because I have a story to tell. But yeah, I'm realizing that I communicate differently to different people. Like, if I really like you, I will probably act like I don't see you, I don't hear you, I don't know you. Like, I'm not making it easy, and it's not even really intentional. Like, my body goes into flight mode when I feel like I could potentially be interested in someone. Like, I don't really know how to act, which is stupid, so I have to always just pretend I don't like anyone so that I act like a normal person. Which is hard, which is why I'm like, gotta date, gotta do all the things as much as possible, so that by the time I meet and I'm with my husband, I'm a normal person. Like, I know what this is. Okay, I need to get this. So when I am kind of into someone, I'll be a little more reserved, which is not always my personality. Like, with my friends, in general, I'm pretty goofy. Like, I'm pretty childish, actually. I don't take much of anything seriously, unless I have to, but I think life should be fun, and I don't really like when people take everything so serious. It's just like, dude, really relax. Like, have a good time. I'm definitely more of a glass half full type of gal. So when I am into someone, you can kind of know, because I'll be quiet. And that's not always like me. I'm like, Joy, you're really quiet. Like, yeah, I am really. Oh my god, I just don't want to do or say anything stupid. I usually get over it pretty quickly because once you get to know people, you see their you see their flaws, and that they're just human too. And not that I don't humanize people, but like one of my friends said, you just have to find the ick. And usually, beyond the mystery, you find a little petty ick. And I could just drop my guard down. I'm like, oh yeah, why was I in this trance? Like, I'm good. But I also noticed that if I'm like crushing on somebody because I think that they're just like super cute, then I'll be like super giddy. So either way, I'm like either not gonna talk to you, not gonna look at you at all, or I'm going to constantly look at you, be so giddy, smile and cheese and laugh like a little schoolgirl, and just kind of fantasize a little bit. Just, like not in a crazy way. Very safe fantasies. But I know with those guys that I'm really giddy about, like I'm not taking it seriously. Like you are eye candy for me, and I would like to keep it that way. Like if anything happens, fine, but you're gonna have to really put in some effort, and also don't rock the boat. Like if you're eye candy, stay there, because I am almost certain that if you try to graduate into something else, it's gonna be a little disappointing for me. Because if you're just that pretty, then you're probably not the other things that I might want. I don't know. Like, no need to judge people by any means. But the pretty boys, I don't know. They're just so used to being pretty and used to getting girls that they just rely on their looks. And that's for everybody. You rely on your looks, so you don't have like for me it's humor. So maybe you haven't had to make people laugh because you're so freaking pretty that people are just like head over heels, me too. And not like I don't want a goofball, but shoot. Long-term partner, you can't just be pretty. You can't. So yeah, I think I'm pretty childish as I describe myself and as I look on to past experiences and figuring out how that, has shaped me, and then just in how I communicate. And now I really have to figure out like how to not be childish. Like, and this is with my hair, I'm doing such a botch job because I know I'm gonna put it in a ponytail, so I just don't want it to be super crinkly. But I'm putting all of this in a ponytail except the front. So in me describing the dating world, I am part of the problem. I am the villain. I want to express that I like people, but I am like one of those boys in elementary. Like I will be mean to you because that is how I react to things that are scary. I'm gonna push you down a flight of stairs. No, but seriously, maybe I might hit you a little bit. Or yeah, mostly ignore you and give you like no opportunity. Pretend that I probably hate you. And it's really not a strategy. Like I have my chest here, so I'm trying to get it into my core to strategize properly for dating instead of just being so reactionary. Like, let me be thoughtful and intentional. If I like somebody, I have to show it. So difficult, because how does that happen? But how I was actually able to get to this realization or answer of how LA is in one word, dating, is, well, I know it's childish. We all know it's childish. But I was listening to a podcast. It's actually a money podcast. It's Money Talks with Dave Ramsey. Or, no, I'm sorry, it's The Ramsey Show. And they have different, like, correspondents on, and they were talking to this woman. I don't know, maybe she's in her 30s or something, but she called in to get some advice on whether she should go in on a mortgage with her boyfriend and his parents, because I guess it's just like a deal of a lifetime. Like the mortgage is low, the rates are blah blah blah, whatever she was saying, but she knew that she didn't really want to do that. So she wanted some advice, pretty much to validate what she was thinking, and then maybe she's wrong. Like maybe it is such a good deal. The housing market's crazy. If you find something, just go in. But of course, they were like, do not get in a however many year mortgage with a boyfriend and his parents. That is crazy. And you've been together for how long? And he doesn't know if he wants to marry you? And she's like, yeah, I mean, we talk about our future. He's been a great boyfriend, and they talk about, being together forever, and or just being together, and he has done nothing wrong, but she's always told herself that she wants to only move in with someone when she's married, which I think is great. And the guys also thought it was great on the podcast. But admittedly, she has given up on that boundary a little bit, compromised, and said, well, you at least have to propose to me. And the guys on the podcast, there are two moderators or two guests that come in, and these are people that have a financial background and just have been, taking the steps to financial freedom for however long. I don't remember their names. But I loved their candor. I loved that they were so honest with her and said, do not compromise. You have all of the power right now. Don't go down to engagement. Do it when you're married. Because what's going to happen is he's going to get comfortable, and you guys are already playing house. So there's really not going to be any incentive for him to marry you. He's going to be like, well, what's the difference? Like, why do you need to get married why do we need to get married right now? And, marriages and weddings are expensive, so let's just wait and save up. It's always going to be this waiting game. And I just found it really refreshing to hear that from two grown men. And at the end of that spiel, he's like, no, he needs to grow up. Like, he's a man-child. Especially at a certain age, and you've been dating for a certain amount of years. Like, you don't need 5 years at 30 to figure out if you want to be with somebody. Like, if you want to get married and you've been together for a couple years, do the work to figure out if this person can be a life partner. But don't string somebody along, because, women want to settle down, and I've noticed that a lot of us are compromising because there's just, I feel like, a shortage of eligible bachelors, and our time is ticking. Our biological clock is running out, and I'm happy. I'm not even kind of thinking that way, because it just puts you in situations that are not suitable for you. It makes you rush into things. You're like, well, I need to find somebody, and I'm not getting any younger, and he's good to me, so let's just do it. No, so good to have an outside, third-party, unbiased opinion. And to have that from men talking about other men, chef's kiss. Like, they're like, have him listen to this podcast so that we can tell him, man to man, that he needs to put a ring on it, or you guys just stay, in a relationship, but do not move in together. Like, that is such a trap, and I feel like that is the trap that we've been, as women, just like now conditioned to think is okay. And not to say what people are doing is not right by any means. It works for some people for sure, but it's gotten to the point where, people are trying to save money, so you're in relationships to do so, and then you realize, wait a second, we've been together for 10 years, and now what? You know, there's essentially no pressure to get married, and I think that there should be. Like, for me, I'm not moving in with a boyfriend. It's not happening. If you want to do that, you can move in with her. But why would I be your unofficial wife? That seems crazy to me. I mean, you know, things happen, and I understand the financial aspect of it, but just rent, like the guys were saying. Rent until you know for certain, because the last thing I want is to break up with somebody, and now we have to figure out, okay, well, who's leaving the apartment? Okay, I'll do this side. And when do we have to move out? Oh, let's just stay together and not be together, because I can't find a new lease, so we'll just date other people while we're dating each other. Like, it just gets messy for honestly no reason, and I think peace is worth more than saving a few grand, honestly, because it just turns into, I feel like it would turn into an actual nightmare. So I absolutely loved them talking about how we have a maturity problem and a man problem in America. That's actually what they said. And I get it. It's like these men, you have so many options, you're not being pushed any way. Like, you can actually get living girlfriends for cheap, for free, just anywhere. You can dump one, get another one really quickly, because there's so many of us. We all want to be married, or we all want to be in a committed something. And so you know that you can kind of have your way. And we're not putting up any fight. Like, I think if all women just band together and say, no, these are the conditions, then the guys will perform. Like, if you have higher expectations of people that are necessary to progress, I think they'll step up to the plate. You have to. But if you don't have any roles, then you're not forcing anybody to grow up. You're not forcing anybody to learn and mature and be, as they said, not I said, an actual man. Because I know how guys get when women say that they're not acting like a man. So you don't even know what that means. You can't say that. Blah, blah, blah. All right, well, here's a man telling you to act your age. This man is 36 that was speaking, and the woman, actually, I remember, she's 32. What is wrong with marriage? Why is that such a problem? It's like, it's the same problem we have with the D word, with dating. It's like, we can't say it. It's like, oh, marriage is so permanent. It's like, okay, there are a lot of things that are permanent, you know, and a lot of people are fine having kids without the marriage. That I will never understand. If it happens, fine. But I've had conversations with men that it's like, oh, I don't know about marriage. It's like long term, it doesn't really work out for people, but I'm down to start a family. What? So you want a child that can potentially be raised in a one-parent household with disruption, because that's not gonna be a safe zone when you're with that child's mother and refuse to commit to her, or you guys break up and now you have to co-parent. Like, what's the point of raising a child in that way? That just seems very selfish. So I just don't get why people are afraid of it. And people say, like, yeah, the law aspect of it and signing a contract. I'm like, you literally sign a contract for everything. For a house, for a phone, for a car. You're not worried about that. So it really comes down to whether you see value in women. And I really don't think guys right now do. They don't see women as an asset. So they're like, well, I'm gonna run the streets for as long as I want to, and you'll be there, and if not, I'll find someone else. Like, literally, guys will say, there are so many of you. I'm a commodity. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to commit. And I'm happy that they're honest with me, when the camera's off. And probably when the camera's on too, they would probably say the same thing, because there's no consequence for their action. There's no consequence for what they're saying. They'll still get women. They'll still get in a relationship whenever they decide to. It might not be a great relationship because it will be riddled with resentment and maybe infidelity and all the things, because it's kind of superficial. But for the purpose of just like not being alone and not being single, which I think most people do want to find somebody, then they can just act however they want to act and know that somebody will accept them. So I think that we need to stop accepting them for just being a functioning human. Like, it's not enough to just be able to live and breathe. You need to do more. Like, let's have way higher expectations. And when she said that about, compromising on the marriage and saying just the engagement, I kind of related to that, because I was like, oh, well, there's moments where I think, well, an engagement is something, and as long as it's not like a 5-year engagement, but who's to say it's not going to turn into that? So it kind of reminded me to snap out of my possible compromise for my future, since I'm pretty highly single, and say, no, marriage or bust. Like, if you want to propose to me, do that, absolutely. And let's figure out what the next steps are so that we can get married and start a family. So let's stop being childish. Let's stop being childish. I'm gonna stop being childish and try to just like communicate better with people. I don't know why I clam up a little bit with such attractive men. I mean, I think it's kind of cute and it's fine, whatever. But with guys I'm interested in, I really think that I have been actively trying to communicate better, but I do find it kind of icky if you are not taking the lead. Like, I just don't want a person like that. I don't want a husband that doesn't take the lead, doesn't take charge, doesn't have, the aggression of just asking me out. And I guess that's aggression now, because men are just so like finicky. It's like, oh, I don't want to date, I'm not sure, but I'm dating 5 women. I'm like, okay. And maybe it's a me thing too, because I think that I ward off certain men for sure. It's like, if you're not serious, well, actually, you don't have to be serious with me all the time, because I'm still figuring you out, and I'm still like getting serious, which is a childish part of me, because I know that I want a partner, a husband, and kids, but I'm still figuring it out. So I'm not always like I don't have a full-fledged list right now of what I need and what I want and blah blah blah, but I definitely am trying. Like, I want to be as open as possible, have conversations with guys I'm interested in, and I think I've been doing it lately where I just ask, like, are you single? I think Date IRL has been able to give me that like push to use it kind of as an excuse to ask, because you never know who's single out here, because I have flirted with endless people that are in committed relationships, and it's not one-sided. It's like, we're flirting, oh, okay, let's exchange numbers. You have a long-term girlfriend, 7 years. Oh, wow, you're gonna propose. What? Why are we even having a conversation? I don't even want to talk to you. Like, you should stand over there. There should be a section for people that are in committed relationships, so I don't actually or unintentionally flirt with somebody's man. Because I will. If he's cute and we're vibing, it won't even be super intentional. But if I know that he's taken, great. I am I'm moving away slowly, and I'm like, all right, you did your thing, sis. He's a cutie. Wish you all the best. I do want to put on the little snippet of the podcast so that you guys can hear it while I move one piece of my chess game.
But you certainly should not sign a mortgage when you are not legally married to him.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, at first I was like, I don't want to buy a house unless we're married. And then I compromised with, I need at least an engagement so I know it's coming.
No, don't compromise.
And
don't compromise.
Yeah,
Make him, listen,
Yeah.
you got the leverage, sister. He needs to step up.
Right.
He needs to step his game up. Is he gonna pop the question or not? You should play this back for him on YouTube. I'll tell him I'm the bad guy today. I don't care. Man up, bro. Put a ring on it. Don't put pressure on her to get into a ill-advised deal.
And
what's wrong with you?
And to use this as leverage to hang over your head is just strange.
Oh,
and manipulative.
It's weak.
Say, well, once we move in, then I'll propose.
I want to try it out. I want to live with you for a while before I decide to commit to you. This is what's wrong with men in America today. They got all these freaking women walking around that have got a lot to offer, and they're in their 30s and they can't get married because you got a bunch of freaking children posing as men. We got a man problem in the United States. And women, you know what you ought to do? Just tell these guys, go pound sand. I'm not going to live with you. I'm not even going to date you for a long time if you don't show some dadgum commitment. I just got to tell you, George, I get a little irritated with it. And this is the problem.
And he's in his 30s, Allison, right?
He's 36. He's a man-child.
Why doesn't he just buy the house on his own?
There
he's
we
so
go.
financially well off.
There's a notion.
Right.
He doesn't have the money, right?
I think I shocked Allison.
I do, I need to say, like, he has been, I know this is probably sound contradictory, but he has been, like, the most amazing partner I could have ever asked for. And, like, we don't have any issues. But, when it comes to this, like, this is where, but when it comes to this, like, we obviously have two standpoints. He's seeing it as, let's get the living situation on the road and we can finally move forward and be together. And
he commits first.
Like renting is one thing, but like a mortgage, I don't know.
No,
sit right with
I
me.
thought we told you that, Allison. Don't keep waffling on this. And listen, he may be a great boyfriend, but he's a boy. And until he starts acting like a man, I'm gonna tell you something. I wouldn't do any of this with him. I wouldn't move in with him either.
And if that means you're renting, don't look at that as throwing away money on rent. You're buying patience. If you have to get 2 or 3 roommates until this is all figured out and you guys are married, I'm okay with that. That's how I did it before I was married, and it worked out great. And it really helps you avoid so many issues that can come up when you jump into this next step, which is the biggest financial move you will ever make in your life.
I gotta ask you, if this were a dating show, okay, what's your statute of limitations, if I can borrow a phrase, on how long a guy should be in a serious relationship like this before we start to say, hey dude, you have commitment issues?
Here's what I'll say.
What's the length of time?
If it's high school sweethearts, I think you can get more time. If you're in your 30s, I give it 2 to 3 years, max.
Oh, that's
before
way
this
too
engagement.
long.
2 to 3 years max.
I think a year. I think 12 months. If you're in your 30s and you've been seriously dating someone for a year, if you can't decide by that point whether or not they're a life partner,
I like getting past the
You're
first year. That's when you finally have your first fight. The
I
first year,
disagree.
it's all gumdrops and rainbows.
no, I think that's about a 3-month period.
You
This
gotta
is
know how they
fascinating.
fight. Conflict is everything. You gotta know how they fight before you say yes.
Yeah.
All right, Ken's an old man, but I think we're on the same page.
I believe in commitment. Been married 26 years.
I believe in a thing called
Take that,
love.
stuff it.